Hey guys, let's talk about tonight's episode of Game of Thrones, and it's episode 1 of season 4. And it was a really good episode. They're definitely setting up all the puzzle pieces for the season moving forwards. There are so many characters in this show, so many different locations. Sometimes it's like hard to remember everything, but they pretty much gave us a nice little story about quite a few different storylines. So we had stuff going on with Tyrion and bringing and welcoming this man. Oh gosh, how did you say his name? Odin or something. Anyway, he is not very happy with the Lannisters, and he's there to celebrate the wedding of Joffrey, and he has a lot of animosity towards this family because his sister had married one of the Khal Drogo's lineage, and he left his sister, and then this started a war, and then the Lannisters basically took over the land and booted out their family, and their family was, or his sister was raped and murdered. And so he's got quite a lot of vengeance in him. And it looks like Tyrion is very uneasy with him being there. Tyrion also had to look out for Sansa in this episode because she is completely depressed. She pretty much is on death's door because obviously she knows about what happened to her sister, to her brother and her mother, and she's devastated. And she really doesn't have anybody there that she trusts, that she can talk to, so she's just completely shut down. And Tyrion's trying to let her know that he will not let anything bad happen to her. But at the end of the day, she's at King's Landing and she cannot be safe there at all. And even Jaime Lannister knows this, and he tries to pretend like he will look out for her, but we all know that you cannot believe anyone's promises. Speaking of Jaime, he was quite happy to see his sister and Sansa or Cersei, and he clearly wants to get busy with her once again. Ew. Hello, that's your sister. And she's having none of it. She's like, you left me for too long, I'm done with you, basically. And he's devastated. He is ready to get back into bed with her, and she's just having none of it. So it'll be very interesting to see what happens between the two of them. He also had a very good conversation with Brienne, who obviously was the girl who helped him get back to King's Landing at the end of last season. And she is basically telling him that you need to live up to your promise, and that is to protect Sansa no matter what. So I think he's going to try to honor that, even though, he's like, please, I could care less about this girl. But I think deep down, he wants to honor that, I guess, Lannisters always pay their debts. And that was something that he promised to Sansa's mother, who we all know was killed at the end of last season at the Red Wedding. Then we also had a lot of stuff going on with Khaleesi, the mother of dragons. Well, I wouldn't say a lot, but she's obviously having some issues taming her dragons. You can tell that they love her, but at the end of the day, they're still wild, crazy dragons, and you cannot tame these things. So I have a feeling that that is going to play a factor in these upcoming episodes. And you can tell that she wants to continue to nurture them and sort of be like their mother, but she can't really control them. So we also got another glimpse of her big, massive army, which is pretty cool. And she is, having some issues. Well, I wouldn't say real issues, but these two gentlemen who I believe are sort of like there to protect her, they're having a little bit of a battle between one another. And this one guy, he is pretty much trying to explain to her that you have to really immerse yourself and get to know this land, this place that you're going to take over, so that the slaves trust you and that they, believe that you are learning about all these different things that happen, I guess, in this land. And you can tell that something is going to go down between those two. I can just tell them already batting eyes at one another. So should be interesting there to see what goes on moving forwards. We also got to touch base with Arya and see what's happening with her, because we all know that she was there when her brother and mother were murdered. And she's basically with what was his name? He's the one who used to protect Joffrey. He was the king's hand. And he left. And he's with Arya, and he's pretty much, protecting her. And they end up showing up at this place and run into the man who killed one of her friends in last season. And they get into this really crazy, intense standoff. And at the end of it, he ends up killing all the guys in this bar. And Arya shows her badassery, and she stabs one guy, and then pretty much repeats verbatim what this guy said to her friend before he killed him. And she said it to him, and at that last second, he realized who she was, and she just drove the sword through his chin, and it was just like, but she's becoming like a warrior. Like, she's not just some girl who's going to sit back and let stuff happen to her. She's going to fight, and even if that means she dies, she's going to die fighting. She's not just going to be somebody who sits back and lets herself be attacked, be raped, be tortured. She's going to fight tooth and nail, whether it's to her death or whether it saves her life. So I love that about her. We also got to see Marjorie in this episode, and obviously she's preparing for her upcoming nuptials to Joffrey. And, we get a sense that she knows what she's getting herself into. And we knew that from last season, but we know what she's getting herself into. And you can tell that she's pretty much doing what she has to do here, but she's also a very conniving, manipulative person herself. So she is definitely not going to let the wool get pulled over her eyes. And it'll be entertaining, to say the least, to see what happens between her and Joffrey. Speaking of Joffrey, he was quite in true form, of course, in this episode when he was trying to pretty much insult Jaime, technically his father, but he just looks at him as the man who is protecting him. And, Jaime only has one hand, and Joffrey's like, how are you going to protect me with that one hand, and blah, blah, blah. Like, he's just being a typical Joffrey, and nobody can stand who Joffrey is. So he's about to get married to Marjorie, and, he just thinks he runs everything. He thinks he's going to have no issues. He's all even like, oh, I don't see any problems happening at this wedding. It's like, honey, everybody wants to kill you, and I cannot wait for that day to happen. Oh, he is the worst. We also got to see Jon Snow, and he basically had to face the tribunal back at, is it the Night's Watch? Yeah, because we all know he was there, and then he left, and he was with the, those other people. So many people, so many names, so many places. Can't get it all right. But he had been kidnapped, and he ended up falling in love with one of the girls. Oh, what are these people called? I can't remember. And then he had to leave, and she tried to kill him with her little bow and arrow. And now he's back at the Night's Watch, and he has to face them. And it's sort of like, am I going to get killed? Am I not going to get killed? Do you believe that these people have built this, 100,000 people army, and now they're coming from the north and the south to attack? If you don't listen to what I'm saying, you're just not going to be prepared for this war that's coming. And they basically decide not to behead him for now. So Jon Snow, and I love that he was just kind of like, what are you going to do? You're going to kill me? He already knows that his half-brother's dead. And he even explains that he was jealous of him his entire life because he was always better to him. He was a better hunter. He was a better, better at finding women. He was just better at everything. And, the fact that he's gone is obviously devastating, but he loved his brother, but he was never his equal because he was the bastard son. So, the news is out. Everybody knows that Robb Stark is dead, and they're dealing with this aftermath. So, very entertaining episode for sure. And I'm very excited to see where this season is going to be going moving forwards. Jamie, at the very beginning, got this new sword, and him and his father were having this discussion, and you could tell that he was like, I'm fine being the king's hand or guarding the king. And his father was like, is that really what you want to do with your life? You want to do this pitiful job when you could go off and run this other place, this city for me? And he was like, no, I don't want to do that. I want to do this. And then when Joffrey was pretty much insulting him by the lack of things he's accomplished in his life, you could tell that it kind of irks Jamie a little bit in that scene. So I wonder if he's going to go off and, run this city for his father and, sort of establish himself as somebody who was a worthy Lannister and not just somebody who repays their debts or pays their debts. The other interesting thing that was going on in this episode was with Tyrion's whore, I guess we should say. I know she's got a name, but she's the woman who takes care of Sansa. And of course, her and Tyrion were lovers in last season, and she's clearly jealous of the fact that, she is not his lover anymore. And he's trying to be like, listen, you need to calm down, because if anybody finds out that you're in here, you're trying to get with me, it's going to be big problems. And of course, what's the first thing that happens? She walks out of the room after making a huge fuss, and another girl overhears the conversation, and boom, beelines over to Cersei's room to tell her the truth. So she's toast. I can already see that a mile away. She just cannot control her emotions. She loves Tyrion. We all know that. But she has to understand she's just like a handmaid. She's there to take care of Tyrion's wife, who is Sansa. And if anybody finds out that she's, important to Tyrion, that's going to be big problems. So she needs to zip it, sip it, and shut it down. So, very good episode. Lots of setting up the drama for this coming season. Cannot wait. Let me know what you guys thought of this episode. Leave a comment down below. I promise you, I'll get better with the names. There's just so much. I don't know. Yeah. All right, guys. Let me know what you thought of this episode, and I will see you all next week. Okay, bye.